Hey, so today's discussion is going to be a softly spoken discussion on the subject as to whether ASMR is sexual or not, or rather, is ASMR sexual? Which tends to be a popular question among either people that are new to the ASMR community or alternatively among those that don't have much experience or exposure to ASMR and they can't really understand what ASMR content is trying to achieve. Quite appropriately, I'm coming at you from my bed today. To be honest with you, that's just where I found the best lighting, but luckily it does work in with the video as well. So, in short then, to answer the question, is ASMR sexual? My response to that is no. ASMR is not sexual, and the ASMR content, or the majority of ASMR content that is created with the intent of comforting and reducing and releasing anxiety and depression, and in general just trying to send people to sleep. Whereas sex is the opposite. Sex is stimulating and it's arousing. So people that may want to get stimulated or aroused quite commonly would watch porn. So porn versus ASMR content. Porn is stimulating, it's arousing, and in general wakes you up. Whereas ASMR content does the opposite. It calms you down, comforts you, and sends you to sleep. So porn versus ASMR content is on completely separate ends of the spectrum. So no, ASMR is not sexual. Now, bear in mind there is an exception to this because there is a sub-niche for this, which is commonly called ASMR erotica, which has become popular among some within the community within the past year, whereas some other people within the community can't stand it at all. So the reason why I wanted to touch upon this topic in the first place is because within my year within the ASMR community, both as a viewer and a content creator, I've noticed that there tends to be quite a general sense of rejection in the ASMR community towards anything that's even sexually suggestive. So why is that? I had to think about it. Well, you'll see there's a lot more dislikes with a video that is sexually suggestive as opposed to an ASMR video that would be strictly platonic. Now, one of the reasons I've concluded as to why I think quite a larger proportion of the ASMR community may be quite rejectful towards anything that's sexual would, for one, be, I'm sure we've all come across the situation when we've tried our hardest to explain to anybody that's not aware of what ASMR is. We've tried our best to explain what it is, but instead it's given back to us with reactions of shock, and it's misunderstood as something sexual. Because I create ASMR videos, for example, if I've ever tried to explain it to friends or work colleagues, for example, I'm often met with reactions of shock and people saying, "So what, you do porn then?" I'm like, no, and I try and explain it further, and they just mistake it for some kind of weird sexual fetish. So that can be frustrating when you've tried to share your interest with somebody, and so that you can potentially see if they would benefit from ASMR too. It can be frustrating when they do actually come across a video that is actually sexual to do with ASMR, because they've tried so hard to explain to people that ASMR isn't this weird sexual fetish. So that may be one reason why people may reject anything sexual within the ASMR community. Second reason why Some people may reject anything even sexually suggestive within ASMR would be because majority of the time people watch ASMR videos with the intent to fall asleep. So when somebody's intent is to fall asleep and in fact instead they're aroused and it had the opposite effect of what they intended, it can be quite not annoying, I don't know the name, the word that you would use, but you know, when you've intended to go to sleep and instead you're woken up and aroused, and then you have to spend a bit of extra time, whereas you'd intended to just go straight to sleep. So they'd have to sort themselves out, so to speak, before they can actually go to sleep. So some people don't like that. Some people just strictly want strictly platonic ASMR videos with the intent of unwinding and falling to sleep. Third reason why I believe ASMR, some people within the ASMR community, and it's not everybody, may be rejectful towards anything even sexually suggestive, would just be society's general take on sex in the first place. There does tend to be a general sense of rejection towards anybody's sexual side if they choose to express their sexual side. And that would just be because from a young age, quite a fair amount of people have been taught that sex is bad, sex is shameful, and sex should be rejected wherever it's come across. So from a young age, you're told not to explore that side of you. So that would just be because your caregivers would have taught you what is right and what is wrong, and sex would have been taught for some that it's wrong. And if you want to survive when you're a child and you have no other means of providing for yourself, if you want to continue receiving shelter and food and love and affection as a means to survive, you will abide by what your caregivers tell you is right from wrong. So from a young age, that is ingrained in quite a fair amount of people's minds that sex is wrong and that it's bad. So that will manifest in relation to the ASMR community, in relation to anything sexually suggestive, in the manner of hate comments or dislikes and things like that. So basically it's just a reflection of their rejection of themselves reflecting onto the content creators that do decide to express themselves sexually through ASMR. So basically, yeah, it's just a rejection reflecting onto other people because they have decided not to resolve that issue within themselves, but rather project it onto other people instead as a means of getting out their anger, so to speak. But yeah, hopefully that answered your question then as to whether ASMR is sexual or not. As I said, no, ASMR is not intended to be sexual unless it's in the sub-genre of ASMR erotica, which does only count for a small proportion of ASMR content. And hopefully if you previously didn't think about these topics that I've suggested to you now, that will give you some more food for thought, especially if you do find that you're somebody that gets overwhelmingly angry when you find something sexual within an ASMR video. My content personally is not sexual, or it's not intended to be sexual. Very rarely I do get the occasional comment that I've had the adverse effect and I've aroused them. But no, my content is not intended to be sexual. It is for the purpose of comfort and sending people to sleep, and at times also to be informative. Though, however, I will be the first to call myself out and say that some of my thumbnails can be quite suggestive with the intent of bringing in viewers. But obviously once the viewers are in, they do find that the content is relaxing and calming. So by all means continue with the conversation in the comment section down below. Okay, and I'll see you next time.